Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Jog Show. So, we're just going to be chatting today, nice casually, about the latest issue of the Fantastic Four. So, really going into it when it comes to Fantastic Four issue 4, now we're getting back in, we're leaving One World Under Doom, and we're getting back into our basic day-to-days of Ryan North's particular kind of writing. So we're going back into fun antics, single-based issues, and just having fun, throwing in a little bit of scientific knowledge in there, and just building a little bit of something here and there. Like, I wouldn't even say building something. Maybe you might be building something. I still feel like there's something like he is building to something that's not One World Under Doom. Just like not a grand ending. It's just like those invisible asteroids. They're still on my mind. And now it's not exactly like he's adding to lore of the Fantastic Four. I feel like some of the things he's developing could actually be used anywhere. That's the fun part. These things don't feel so exclusive, and they're just so much fun. So yeah, we're going back into that vibe this week, and it's really great to see. It's great to have back. And even though we are going back into a bit of episodics, we actually do have, at very least, a 2-issue arc, quite possibly 3. We don't know yet. We don't have the solicitations for February. Blimey, is it really coming to the end of the year already? Ah, Jesus. Anyway, yeah, we're going to be talking about a little bit about that later on. So let's just focus on this issue, and then I want to talk about a bit of the Fantastic Four upcoming. And we'll just get... Okay, so just jumping right in. This was, like I said, this was definitely a fun issue. Actually, it was a fun issue, but I found it a fascinating issue. I could just focus. Okay, so we skip ahead a little bit. I want to just skip ahead for a minute. We won't go start to end. I want to start in the middle because this was absolutely fascinating, and also one of my favorite parts of this issue, and one of my absolutely favorite parts of Ryan's Fantastic Four, because something he's done that's very well done, and not many other writers actually have done this. It's the friendship between Reed and Alicia. This moment was such a standout moment. I have to start here. This was gorgeous. There's a level of intimacy kind of here. Like me and a few other folks, we were joking about this, but it's when it comes to writing Alicia, I feel like you have to write her as though she's having a level of physical intimacy with another character, because I feel like that's who she is. She's a very emotional sculptor, and not just her own emotions, but it's been shown previously that when she sculpts, it's like she's capturing the true essence of a character. Like there was the time she sculpted Mole Man, and he broke down in tears because he felt like he was seeing his own inner beauty. That was a great thing to talk about. So I feel like if you're writing Alicia, you have to understand the idea of physical intimacy that has nothing to do with basic, physical relations. Like, you have to leave that part behind, but just understanding how powerful touching somebody can actually be, and how it can actually feel. And that's kind of what we're getting here. It's almost like them connecting they're connecting between their two ways of seeing the world. Reed through his scientific understanding, and Alicia through her emotional understanding, and how they're managing to actually communicate with each other. This was brilliantly done. These two are very opposites, but they are finding a bridge and a way to talk to each other, a way to communicate. And that's a big thing, because not everyone can do that. Some people are so stuck in their own heads that they think that their way to communicate should be listened to. People should communicate their ways of doing it. I'm guilty of doing that many times in my life. So to see Reed also not just Alicia touching him, he's taking a hand and bringing it to his to show what he's actually trying to say. And there's a gentleness in this, and there's an understanding and a bridging in this. It is gorgeous to see. And we're talking about something I had no idea actually had a terminology. I thought it was just a quirk of humanity. Of how do you pronounce this? Pareidolia. Pareidolia. I think that's how you pronounce it. Pareidolia. Anyway, that is basically the terminology of seeing things in shapes. It's like seeing a face in a shape. It's the idea of like seeing shapes in clouds. It's not something that's actually there, but it's how we can interpret it. It's a very artistic. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the pasta. It's a very artistic way of looking at the world. It's seeing things beyond the shapes. It's not just like looking at a circle and seeing a circle. It's looking at a circle and seeing a face that isn't drawn yet, or just like how your shapes can be interpreted to become something else. It's literally how we actually look at art. It's actually kind of it actually is making me think of like it's Picasso. It's Picasso's type of art style. He uses almost randomized shapes, and your mind fills in the gaps. The the very creative and artistic side of your brain actually fills in the gaps, so you actually see and interpret the person. It's a very fascinating thing to think about, very fascinating thing to look at, and it's amazing to see this in a comic book. This is just Ryan back at his absolute peak. The idea of like these regular people the Fantastic Four have always been interesting since the very beginning because they seemed like regular people. These were regular folks, have arguments, have misunderstandings, they talk in a way that seems like normal people, and that's what made them exciting. So the fact they're talking about this in such a emotionally open way about something that I had no idea about, it really helps communicate these ideas. This is one of the reasons I think this book is actually Ryan is such a great writer in the Fantastic Four. It really does feel like when you're a kid and you watch those science shows and they talk to you in a way that you can actually understand. They don't treat you childishly, but they don't over explain it to the point where when none of the information's going in. They do and show, and it's very, very good to see. It makes people feel curious. It makes people think. If it has that sense of wonder and amazement, and I love it. So just reading this concept about how Alicia just seeing the point he's making by just molding this shape, molding his flesh, and then actually just simply talking about like just seeing a face in random items. Because we all do that all the time. I do that all the time. I can't help it. Every time I see see a damn car, you see a face. He's literally explaining the Cars movie. Like, ever since I watched that movie, every time I see the whole thing of the grill on the front, I can't help but think of a car with a mustache. God, they did that very well. I really love that. And that's all I was thinking of reading this comic. Oh my god, he's explaining the science of the movies that use inanimate objects. He's explaining Pixar. We are talking Pixar here. And it's so fascinating to think about, and how amazing how brains can actually do this to associate something with our own sense of familiarity, to use shapes and create these things. And this is also connected to the next stage of it. I swear we're going to get into the actual issue, but I also want to talk about this part too. This part, when it comes to Reed actually developing the device that like kind of switches off his perception of I've already lost it. I've already can't remember what it was called. God, I should have said it like 100 times. Like pareidolia, like when he's able to switch that off, and he just started. This is something I really wanted. I really ended up thinking about that I thought was very fascinating. Like so many times in his writing, as well as other characters, very heavily based on science and logic. They say that these characters are emotionless. They don't have feelings or anything like that. It's more like But that's never actually true. Reed doesn't have no emotions. He struggles to understand emotions. These are two very different things. What they think they're saying about the character, what they think about him, is he's so logic based, he's emotionless. That's not what he is. That's a very dark person they are describing. Reed isn't that dark person. He struggles to understand emotions. He can screw up, but he will actually feel bad about screwing up, especially if people point it out to him. These are people that really need some extra help. And this scene proves that actual point. He might not understand emotion, but when he actually inhibits the pareidolia, he actually starts getting a little freaked out because he's not seeing the wonder in a way. Yeah, he's not really seeing the wonder in it anymore. He's not seeing the shapes of it. He's not seeing the mind association with it, and he's even describing how unsettling it is. And even though he struggles to understand emotion, pretty much removing all of it, it actually really unsettles him. And he's feeling that emptiness. This is what I'm talking about. Ryan here is really showing that Reed isn't emotionless. He struggles with emotion. He struggles to understand emotion. And he's really showing the difference. Because if somebody had no emotions, didn't really care about this type of stuff, he wouldn't feel unsettled. It'll probably just be the same thing every day. But Reed is just feeling very unsettled. This is actually very good because the last time we had these kind of conversation and moments between Alicia and Reed was during the Blood Hunt event. I think it was 2 years ago now? Yeah, 2 years ago now. Last year? Or was it last year? Because we're coming up to the end of the year, that's when my thing really starts going. It's when everything starts switching around. But the point is, he talked about how he struggles to understand the artwork. But the thing is, the fact that it actually bothers him shows that point, and it shows that he has the capability to, but he just can't. He's got the heart there, but his brain isn't wired to get it, and he wants to. That's an amazing part. This is a great way to look at Reed. And that's also something that I want actually, yeah, because I didn't actually talk about this, but it also kind of makes me think of when Ryan also wrote World of Revelation recently, and he focused on Franklin and how the best describing terminology for Franklin of artists raised by scientists, and it just really it until we really see it, that won't mean much. But the idea that that's how Ryan sees him is actually very good. And so it's just this. It's more emotional side. You got the logical side, and it's just very fascinating to think about that this small aspect, this little, something that you would probably look at as a quirk of humanity, is actually being more like it's so heavily connected to seeing the world as something better than what it might actually be. Because if you take this away, you'll probably ask, why do we fight to protect it? Why do so many people try so hard to try and see these things this way? And it's because art is always going to be the language of emotion. Is how people express emotion, express their feelings, their points, their opinions. And so this is actually a very good thing to think about. This comic really brings up interesting points. It brings up interesting thoughts. It brings up all these type of things that you can think about from Reed, from the rest of the family, and from people in general. That this little idea is actually so much bigger than we can actually think about. We don't talk about it because it's just kind of like an unspoken thing. And I feel like we should talk about it because it could spark ideas like this. And I love that Ryan is talking about it. It's just so small and fun. It's just you don't even think about it. It's so hard to describe even. So continuing on, let's talk about the issue again. Okay, we got the heavy stuff out of the way. Let's talk about the fun stuff. So the whole point is they got this new dog, but apparently it's not a dog. It's an alien glob of flesh and teeth. There's no other way to describe it. It's almost a lot like a symbiote. In fact, you'd probably be forgiven thinking it was a symbiote. And it's actually affecting pareidolia in the rest of their brains, but it doesn't affect Alicia on the same level because not only is she emotional, but she's also she's blind. So using touch and her other senses to interpret the rest of the world, she notices there's a problem. Before what the creature's name is Thruck, I believe it was, before he's able to adjust, she notices there's something off. And we also get this weird image of their tentacle. You know what? I'm not going to talk about this. This disturbs me greatly. It's just weird to think about, especially Johnny's pose there. It's very unsettling. So the downside to this issue was the fact they didn't get to keep the creature as a pet. Because I really think they deserve a pet. Just a weird alien pet. So this one's definitely an Alicia focus at the beginning, more or less, which I find unfortunate. I feel like she should have held the entire story, but it does shift from Alicia to Alicia Reed, and then to Reed, and then to the whole family taking him on. So, like I said, we're back to basics when it comes to Ryan's writing. It's just the fun episodic writing that you would see in a sci-fi TV show. And you know what? I have kind of missed it. It's been like 9 months now. So with that, the fact that we're getting back into this is very good. Especially now that we've also seen that. So he's also bringing back his also form of horror, especially when Alicia starts fighting back against this creature. And it does take on a more sinister tone. This is something really good about Humbardus' work. So at the beginning, he is a slimy creature, but he's a bit more, like, you look at it with a type of face, but then he starts going a bit more on the attack, and then you actually start feeling a bit of a chill. That's something that's really good. That's another good part about Humbardus' work, his artwork. So then we kind of just rushed to the end of it. Like, the ending really felt like, whoa, that went to 0 to 100. And the fact is, if you're sitting there at a dinner table, you flick a switch, and then suddenly a cute little dog turns into a giant pig blob of flesh and teeth, that is kind of 0 to 100. It's the definition of the situation. So yeah, we go onto the offensive, and we manage to go worldwide, and we get these really cool battle scenes. I really like the fact that Sue can turn the water vapors that create the blue in the sky invisible, so then she creates a night sky, and it's all cracked, and we got more. Why do we keep doing weird eye things with Reed? We can do other things. It's just, what's with the weird eye things? Oh boy. So yeah, Day is saved. Thrak, because these creatures, their cover's blown, they rack off. Simple as that. So if they come back, they could come back. We don't know. For all we know, the upcoming issue about these creatures called extremophiles, which is actually not a particular species name, it is a definition. I'll get to that in a minute. Turns out that these weren't soldiers, more just harvesters. So I think so. They came, they infiltrated, they got you ready to be turned into food. So instead of sending soldiers, they weren't built for combat. So you chase them off, easy done. So those extremophiles I was talking about. Turns out extremophile isn't actually going to be the species name. It's a species definition, kind of like mammal or fish. Extremophiles are a creature that lives in harsh conditions. Like, they thrive in harsh conditions. An example, there's actually a particular snail that actually lives in magma craters. Or these tiny microbia creatures that actually, you can't even see them that small. You see them in the Ant-Man movie. Those are extremophiles. So we don't know what they actually are yet. So yeah, that was another fun issue. And talking about the future issues, I want to talk about. I want to actually now. I don't usually advocate with this part. It usually doesn't pop in my mind. But if you don't actually buy the issues, I recommend pre-ordering the next bunch of issues. The reason why is because the next bunch of issues are actually very Sue-centric, very Sue-focused. The next one we have is focusing on Black Cat. Wait a minute. Yeah, but yeah, it's focusing on Black Cat and Sue, and we're doing a little bit of a mystery. She's been framed, she's been set up, and we're going to figure out what's going on, try and clear her name. Then we're going into the Invincible Woman storyline, and that's going to be focusing on Sue and Malice and this version of who Sue can actually end up being. The reason I recommend pre-ordering is because we want to show the excitement that we can have in for a Sue Storm-centric story. The fact is, I'm Ben Grimm stan all the way. He's my favorite of the four and favorite character in Marvel. But even I recognize that he's definitely overused. In fact, my biggest problem with him is that even though they use him, they don't use him for potential stories that he could actually be good at. Like, how come we're not focusing on the fact he's a dad now and he's a married man? We keep focusing on the fact he keeps beating everyone up. It's something that's very frustrating to me. But the fact is, with other female characters recently getting a massive bump, especially over in the X-Men side, including Storm, Psylocke even, they're getting a massive bump. And to show Marvel that we actually have a sense of excitement for Susan as well, it would be a good idea to pre-order and hope that she could get her own solo, her own story, and something that's a bit more disconnected from the family and focuses more on her. So I do recommend pre-order the next couple of issues, because I'm also very excited, because the Invincible Woman story is actually sounding like things that I've actually wanted for a very long time. Not just Sue being at the center and taking on very dangerous threats, but also the idea of the Fantastic Four kids and the Return of the Future Foundation, and them actually getting a bit more getting a bit more focus. So that's going to be good to see. I'm very excited for the upcoming issues. I am loving the fact that we are back in this point. I'm also going to talk about Ultimates in another video during the week. So I hope you're staying. So I hope that you're going to stick around and watch the Ultimates with me. I hope you guys have enjoyed this issue, and I hope you guys have had a great time talking comics. I'll see you guys later.